Whether it's a hot time in Florida or a rainy night in Georgia,
looking for trouble?
It's the perfect time for the TCBCast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast.
Oh, yes, sir. Good to see you go, folks. This black fix bring you the hottest thing in the country, real hot and blue, coming to WHBQ in Memphis, Tennessee.
With your hosts, Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar. The TCBcast is on the air.
Welcome to TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis Presley fan podcast. I'm Justin Gosman.
I'm Gurdip Ladar.
Gurdip, what's up this week?
What's up? Nothing. Nothing going on. It's just very, very hot, and I'm very, very sweaty. I do not like it. I wish it was winter time. And the fact that you picked Blue Christmas last week only makes it worse, because I'm like, man, it could be so nice and cool, but it is not. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much where I'm at. Nothing going on, really. Just work and getting kids involved in something, because they've been stuck at home so much, and we're still careful of where we go, because people may not know it, but there's still a pandemic going on.
Uh-huh.
And some people think that it's over, but it's really not. So you got to be careful out there.
Yeah.
How about you?
Things have been well. So, yeah, there's not even like a whole bunch of Elvis news this week. Assuming nothing happens in like the 3 or 4 days between when we record and when this episode goes up.
The only thing I saw was they released the track listing for that That's the Way It Is, FTD, the book,
Yeah.
that 600-page book. It's like complete rehearsals. I mean, I didn't look, but looks like there's some previously unreleased stuff. Obviously, it's stuff we've heard him sing, but it's just like a different
Version
day
of it. Yeah.
and version, which probably isn't very different at all. But I'm still not picking that up.
No.
I'm guessing you're not either.
Probably not, no.
Yeah, that's the only thing I saw news-wise, unless you know something.
No, nothing. It's a quiet week in the Elvis world, so.
I could just picture a desert and a tumbleweed going by.
But we do have a pretty solid episode, I think, ahead of us this week. So we'll just hop, I guess, right into our main topic. We don't usually get to the main topic this quickly, but
I know, there's a lot of preamble going on, but there's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm too hot, and you're just blah.
well, I'm not blah. We just is a blah week. There's nothing else going on. So let's hop in the time machine and jump back to 1957.
When I walk through that door, baby, be polite. You gonna make me so if you don't greet me right. Don't you ever kiss me once, kiss me twice, treat me nice.
So this is, I don't remember the last time we did this, but this is our ongoing sessions episode where we don't go into his film soundtrack sessions, but rather his album sessions. And I guess the last thing we did was the Christmas album. Was that the official one, or no? Not even that.
That one technically wasn't part of the series. That was an album review. So the last time that we actually did one, it was the January and February 1957 sessions.
Oh,
so
okay.
These were the ones that happened just before he made Jailhouse Rock. It was sort of in between the stuff he was doing for Loving You.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
So this is September 5th of 57. So I guess he spent the summer pretty much on tour after he finished filming Jailhouse Rock, and it was like that Pacific Northwest tour,
yes,
where he hit Portland, Seattle, Tacoma, and then of course here in Vancouver during the end of the PNE, the Pacific National Exhibition. Mm-hmm. And then he came back, he did a few more shows, and then the 5th was what they I guess they wanted to put together a Christmas album, because those are usually, like, if you have a popular performer what's the natural step? A Christmas album, right?
Yeah. So we're coming in at sort of a weird point with RCA and sort of their relationship to Elvis and Colonel Parker in the 50s, because Steve Sholes, as it seems, was a little frustrated at this point because so much of what Elvis was recording was wrapped up in either Loving You or Jailhouse Rock, and so he didn't feel like he had gotten much of a say as kind of the guy in charge of Elvis's, what he was supposed to be recording for the record company rather than recording for the movie company that RCA just happened to have access to for their album, to put an album out as well.
Yeah.
And so essentially what was going on at that point, so you've got on the RCA side, Steve Sholes is a little frustrated that they're not getting the attention they deserve. He
always thought that because Colonel was always he was always kind of bullying Steve Sholes and like, I'll give you what you need or what I think you need. Mm-hmm. You're going to have no say, essentially, right?
Yeah. However, the idea came about to do a Christmas album because, like you said, it was very common for RCA to have their artists do either a holiday single or a holiday album, and Parker was actually pretty amenable to the idea. However, his client wasn't.
No. So we can also talk about this. He was given 2 demos by Lieber and Stoller during this period.
So he was still in the in the phase where he was really digging Lieber Stoller's work and was collaborating with them full force, and he wanted more of that.
Yeah, he wanted, like, he specifically asked Mike Stoller to write him a pretty ballad, which he did. Don't. And they gave the demo to Elvis, and he loved it. But I guess they got into deep trouble because no one's supposed to give Elvis a song. Mm-hmm. And I guess it was Freddie Beanstalk who demanded to know what were they doing giving Elvis a song. And they write in their book, like, I think Lieber asked Freddie, he's like, has Elvis decided to give up singing? And Freddie Beanstalk got all mad, and Lieber's like, well, what's the problem? Does Elvis hate the song? And Freddie's like, that's the problem. He likes it. And it's like, well, wait a second. How is that the problem? But, they had to follow this specific protocol of, we get the song, we get the publishing and all that. You got to follow whatever Colonel says. And I guess they didn't like people just giving stuff directly to Elvis. The Aberbox wanted it done properly because we saw what happened later with Jerry Reed and Guitar Man, right?
Yep.
They recorded it. They didn't get the publishing, and Elvis loved it, and then that was that nasty. I mean, you talked about it during your Song of the Week where they started cornering Jerry Reed and saying, oh, we need a piece of this, and he's like, F you guys, well, you're not getting any of my stuff, which is nice, because why should he, right?
Right. And so what was the other song that Lieber Stoller gave Elvis?
It's a song called I'm a Hog for You, Baby.
Yeah, which was later recorded by the Coasters.
I'm a hog for you, baby. Can't get enough of your love. I'm a hog for you, baby. Can't get enough of your love. When I go to sleep at night, that's the only thing I'm dreaming of. One little piggy ate a pizza. Yeah. One piggy ate potato chips.
It's an okay. Have you listened to it? It's an okay song.
It's all right. I kind of have a hard time hearing it, like imagining Elvis singing it.
Yeah, I don't know what Elvis would have done with it. It just, I don't know. It's hard for me to picture him singing that song. Maybe that's why he kind of passed on that one.
Yeah,
but don't. I mean, that one that was right up his alley.
Right. Well, and then there were 2 other songs that had kind of come into his view around this point. At some point, Ivory Joe Hunter showed up at Graceland and just wanted to visit and hang out. And while he was there, he played Elvis "My Wish Came True," and Elvis absolutely dug it. He essentially, it was sort of in the vein of you almost imagine like a Roy Hamilton or a Billy Eckstine type pop ballad, very broad, something that Elvis could really sink his teeth into, something that he'd been trying to do for a while. And like we had talked about before with the gospel material, it was something that he was starting to lean more and more towards, and
Right.
I would argue actually only comes to fruition in 1960 when he comes back and does stuff like It's Now or Never. But he's experimenting with it, and this is right up his alley. And then the other song that kind of he wants to make an attempt at is a song that he'd been performing live out on stage, and in fact, for sure performed it in some of the Pacific Northwest shows because the Seattle show Jimi Hendrix actually attended, and as a child. There's actually a drawing that child Jimi Hendrix did of Elvis on stage playing his guitar, and he wrote all the songs that he had played at the concert, that Elvis had played at the concert, and one of them was Fool's Hall of Fame. And according to some sources, at one of the shows, one of the last couple of shows, Elvis actually made an announcement at the concert and said, "This song is going to be my next single," and then went on to play
Right.
Fool's Hall of Fame. And Fool's Hall of Fame I actually picked as my song of the week a few episodes back. Actually, several episodes back now by this point. But
Yeah, that was a while ago.
It was originally by an artist on Sun Records by the name of Rudy Richardson. And it's pretty easy, actually, to imagine Elvis doing a version of Fool's Hall of Fame. It's very much in his style. Even the backing vocalists are sort of doing the thing that Jordan Ayers were doing with Elvis. It was really up his alley.
Don't leave me here in shame. In the Fool's Hall of Fame. Baby, since we've been apart, I can't console my heart. It cries and cries the whole night long. Can I ever make you see the change you made in me? Just give me a chance to tell you I was wrong. Yes, baby.
I'm sure he would have. It would have been like a mix of rockabilly and R&B.
Yes.
He would have been. It would have been great. Quick thing. RCA, while this was going on, RCA was compiling a bunch of Christmas standards as well, and some of the ones that they picked were "Santa, You've Done Me Wrong," which was by Sid Tepper, Roy Bennett. They never went to that. "Let's Play Jingle Bells," which I don't really know of. Let It Snow, Let It Snow," which we do know. I'm sure you've heard it many times. "I'll Be Home for Christmas," "Blue Christmas," and then a song called "You're All I Want for Christmas," which was by Bing Crosby, and Al Martino did a version of it later, but also that was thrown out. Elvis, as you said, didn't really want to do Christmas material, but he was kind of forced into it. But right off the bat, when we get to these sessions, he wants to tackle "Treat Me Nice" again because he loved it. And he thought he could improve on that film version. Kind of like the same way he had recorded One Night, but didn't let them release it because he thought he can do better.
And this becomes a recurring theme over the course of basically the year 1957, because that not only happens with "Treat Me Nice," but it also happens with "My Wish Came True." And later on, as we'll get into the 58 session, the early 58 session, there's a couple songs on there that he wanted to kind of hold off on. He wasn't entirely pleased with how they were going. And so that's another thing that's happening, just to put a little context in. There's also a little bit of a split between Elvis and his band creatively. It seems
that
like
happens at the end of these sessions.
Yeah, they're sort of not up to snuff for the type of pop material that Elvis is wanting to experiment with. And they'd been, Elvis was more loyal, so he hadn't really said much of anything. But RCA, on the other hand, like Steve Scholes, was actually pretty unhappy with them because essentially they were wasting studio time because they had a lack of polish and a lack of skill that led to more spontaneous recordings and certainly more electric recordings, but it also took a lot of time to get arrangements right. And oftentimes, for instance, they had just come off Jailhouse Rock and Bill Black couldn't even play the bass riff on "You're So Square Baby I Don't Care," and so he just throws a little temper tantrum, throws his bass guitar down, and walks out. And Elvis is the one that has to kind of cover for Bill on that song, and that's just
to back up Bill Black a little bit. This was something new. He was used to the stand-up bass, and he just got this new, the new electric basses. So he was still, he wasn't totally comfortable, which he would later get with the Bill Black combo, because you can see him playing it, right?
Right.
But yeah, he was just, I guess he should have practiced more. I don't know, but it's not like he refused to play. It was just something new. He was just
it was a refusal to play, because you wouldn't have gotten one of the other, like a professional session musician. They wouldn't have thrown down the bass and walked out and thrown a little temper tantrum, leaving the star artist to do the part on his own song. It was just one of those things that, to add on to the pile of RCA not really being on their side, which, as you alluded to, comes to a head at the end of this session.
And
so
Colonel kind of sits on the fence on this one, because he knew Elvis liked the guys, and he didn't want to totally throw in with Steve Sholes saying, bad-mouthing them in front of Elvis, because it can blow back poorly onto him. So he kind of let Steve Sholes take the heat for that, and he just kind of sat on the fence.
So
which is a smooth move by him.
True. So to convince Elvis to do the Christmas record, part of the deal is that he gets to do his non-Christmas material that he's been working on, and that's been kind of in his interest. And he also has something new this session that he hadn't done before. He actually brings in a female backing vocalist by the name of Millie Kirkham.
Right.
And this is the first time that she backs him up on a session. And he had heard her doing a vocal on a song called Gone by Ferlin Husky. I actually went and listened to that for this episode.
I did as well.
The song is just okay, but you can definitely tell that she's there.
What I give for the time I've wasted, the love that I've tasted, I was wrong. Now you've gone.
Yeah, it's not a bad song, but I guess her voice impressed him. I don't know. We'll go into it when we go to the songs, but I'm not a huge fan of Millie Kirkham. I'm sorry to say, because anyway, let's get to the songs.
Yeah. So let's.
So he goes to the first September 5th. The first song that he tackles is "Treat Me Nice,"
and this is
they do 15. Yeah,
this is at Radio Recorders in Hollywood.
Yeah, so he didn't want to record in Nashville. They decided to record in LA because it was going to actually lead into a West Coast tour of San Francisco, Oakland, LA, and then it would finish up in Hawaii, which would be his last 50s live shows.
Yeah.
In 57. So they did. Yeah, they chose to record in LA, and the first song, "Treat Me Nice," they do 15 takes. And what do you think of this version compared to what they had previously done?
Yeah, it's much more polished. They dropped it a little in terms of the key that it's being performed in. And Elvis gives a little bit of a smoother, kind of sexier vocal on this. This is the one that most people, I think, would be familiar with nowadays. This is the single version. It appeared on Elvis's Golden Records. It was the one that really is probably the best known version of "Treat Me Nice," aside from what you see him perform in the film. But I really like it. I think I'm glad that he actually went back and sort of redid this, because it gives him an opportunity to approach the song from that more pop side that he'd been sort of playing around with.
I think they vastly improved what they had done previously.
Absolutely.
They jazzed the song up a bit. They added doo-wop elements. And as you said, Elvis's voice is so much more smoother. Like, this is one of my favorite Elvis songs, period. I'd say top 5.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of the Jordanaires clapping.
Make me feel at home if you really care. Scratch my back and run your pretty fingers through my hair. would know I'll be your slave. If you ask me to, but if you don't behave, I'll walk right out on you. If you want my love and take my advice, dream me night.
And I think Dudley Brooks on piano is really underrated because it's so great. We didn't mention that Lieber and Stoller were at these sessions, and I think they really helped this song.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and because at the recording sessions for Jailhouse Rock, the person that was actually playing on Treat Me Nice was Mike Stoller. So Dudley Brooks, even though he was on some of the Jailhouse Rock material, gives it a different flavor in the way that he plays piano as well compared to Mike Stoller. So all around, I think it was just a general improvement, and it showed. I mean, the song was really successful for Elvis, and it wasn't just because it was in the film Jailhouse Rock. It was genuinely a really excellent recording.
Imagine how much more he could have improved One Night if he had gone back and touched it up a bit. Like, wow. Like, what we have is great, but imagine Elvis taking it to that next level.
I still think that should have a saxophone over it.
One Night?
Yeah.
It would, I'm sure it would be great. Anyway, next they tried out My Wish Came True, but I guess they weren't happy with what they had, and they moved on, and no recording of this exists. And same with the next song, which we just talked about, Fool's Hall of Fame. I don't know. Who knows what happened? What do you think?
Yeah. It's been suggested that there's a possibility that either the tape went missing or they just taped over it. According to an interview with Elvis Information Network, talking to DJ Fontana, DJ did confirm that he recalls working on it in the studio, but that's about as much of a confirmation as we have that it happened. Obviously we don't have any evidence of it. It's one of those things that you kind of wish that it would turn up. But, it's entirely possible that it was, deleted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's just like the previous song he did, My Wish Came True. They just kind of gave up on it, moved on, thought they would go back to it later, but they never did, unfortunately. It's probably one of those things like Elvis probably lost interest in that song. And he's like, why am I going to do this? Just forget it. Right. But My Wish Came True was different because, Ivory Joe was one of his idols, and, he wanted to cover that song. So the next song was Blue Christmas, which we just covered because it was your song of the week. And this was done fairly quickly in 3 takes. And this is when we first hear Millie Kirkham on this track. I mean, I don't know what we can say. We both love the song. Do you have anything to add to that?
No. Again, go back to the previous episode, 125, if you want to hear our thoughts, are more substantial. Or I guess, was it 126? Okay. But that was my song of the week, and we covered pretty much all the notable versions of it leading up to Elvis's version. And
this is where, if you're reading a comic, there's an editor's note at the bottom say, see issue blah blah blah.
Exactly.
With an asterisk.
If you're not here with me, and when those blue snowflakes start falling, that's when those blue memories start calling.
So the next day they come back September 6th, and Elvis wanted to, take another stab at My Wish Came True. And as I said, it's written that Elvis was so fond of Joe and admired his work that he wanted to make this song do a good job for him.
Yeah, he wanted to do justice to it.
Now, I like this song, but I think the background vocal might have been a misplay. First off, I don't like Millie Kirkham on this song. She feels so out of place. Those soaring vocals aren't needed. And I know they're going for a church chorus vibe, but I think it's a little too much. I think if they had gone the route of don't, it would have been made for a greater song.
Forever you play with love, can bring tears. My dear, my wish came true. My wish came true. To my surprise.
I mean, Elvis's vocals are on point, and I like that. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, and that's the thing too, is that I think that Millie's way too high in the blend. I actually read that she was actually a little concerned going into these sessions because her direction was essentially to do this very high, very loud kind of voice over the top of everything else, and she almost thought it might be a little too ridiculous. And I think she might have been right. Like it almost comes around on Blue Christmas to like it works, but it's it's the classic of Elvis being just over the top enough to be like to put the Elvis stamp on it. My Wish Came True, on the other hand, he comes in with this nice little intro of My Wish Came True, and then it's like it's so loud and so overbearing, and it's really obnoxious.
What do you think of a doo-wop version of My Wish Came True?
I think it could have worked. And so another thing that's going on that we talked about the last session episode that we did, and we get a little bit of it here. Elvis oversings, and he's trying to do this sort of belting out of some of the lyrics, and he kind of blends this with his normal singing voice. But when he tries to like really belt it out in this sort of semi-operatic style, like
Roy
he did on
Hamilton style,
but his voice is too weak, so he sort of fakes it by making his voice artificially thick, like he's almost like doing a Kermit the Frog impression, and it's just it doesn't work as well as as it should have, and I can see why Elvis wasn't pleased with it as well. I don't think they ever really got a good take on it.
This definitely was a misfire. If only he had like taken a cue from like the Platters or the Flamingos.
Yeah.
Like I Only Have Eyes for You. Like this would have been such an awesome doo-wop song that he could have pulled off with just him and the Jordanaires.
Absolutely.
I wonder if a remake of this would make it that much greater. Like just strip everything but Elvis's vocals.
Yeah.
And go that whole Spancock. Where are you?
Yeah, the technology's getting there, so. Maybe.
We have the technology. We can remake it. What's that? The $6 Million Man people are like, what the hell is he talking about?
This is one of those things where you listen to a lot of Elvis's music, for the most part, is pretty timeless. But this one is not. This one is very dated.
Yeah, and it's not just us. Like Elvis went back to this song because he knew he didn't get it. They did a massive 28 takes on this, which is nuts.
Yeah.
It's just, unfortunately, we don't have any of those for review, so we don't know. Like, they didn't save any of those, so we just have the master, and
yeah.
Oh well. Next, Elvis finally tackles some more Christmas songs with White Christmas, and since he just came off showing his admiration for one of his influences, Ivory Joe, I guess he wanted to also pay homage to Clyde McPhatter, because that's what we essentially get.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.
We're not going to really go over the Christmas songs very much because we did that already for our Elvis's Christmas album, whatever episode that was. Asterisk, editor's note. See episode blah blah blah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was when was that? That was episode 96. Go back to episode 96. You can hear our thoughts more in depth on all the Christmas songs.
They did 9 takes with this, and then only 2 takes for Here Comes Santa Claus.
Yeah, they knocked that one out pretty easy. But that's
and it was good.
But that's a pretty simple country song. Like that's.
Well, not the way he sings it.
There's elements of country in there. It's very straightforward, and that's the thing is you look at the other songs and they're a little more pop, they're a little more ballad, and yet you stick them in front of this this kind of regular song that's just sort of clops along at a good pace, like well delivered, but like you can tell that Scotty and Bill and DJ are handling that a little easier than they're handling the big stuff.
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Vixen and Blixen and all his reindeers pulling on the reins. Bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright. So hang your stockings and say your prayers, 'cause Santa Claus comes tonight. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. He's got a bag that's filled with toys for boys and girls.
Yeah. 9 takes next for Silent Night. And as I said, strangely, I enjoy and prefer Here Comes Santa Claus, even though Elvis kind of rushed through it. Mm-hmm. Or they just got it, whatever is the case. And next up is Don't, which Lieber Installer brought to him, we just talked about. And he knocks this out of the park.
Totally.
This is the vibe he should have gone with on My Wish Came True. The Journers at their doo-wop best with no soaring Millie Kirkham vocals. I love this song. Like, more of this, please.
Don't leave my embrace, for here in my arms is your place. When the night grows cold.
Yeah, this was a number one hit for me. Like, where I first heard it was, I guess it would have been on the Artist of the Century box set. And over the years, I've heard it on a number of various compilations. But it was really this great single for him. And this is the one that I think, of all of the songs that he wanted to do, even despite attempting My Wish Came True and Fool's Hall of Fame and not quite getting those, he really wanted to get Don't, because it was so perfectly penned by Lieber Installer to work with what Elvis could deliver. Like, it was right in his range vocally.
Yes. You can tell he's channeling people like Bill Kenny or Roy Hamilton or Dean Martin on this song.
Yeah, but not overdoing it.
No.
This is, it's so polished. It's just a brilliant recording.
So the last day of these sessions, September 7th, was used to finish up the Christmas song requirements. O Little Town of Bethlehem was up first. And they did this in 4 takes. And then another 9 takes for Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me, which I love. And I guess Lieber and Stoller were... they kind of saw that Elvis was just going through the motions with these traditional Christmas songs. And then right on the spot, I think from prodding from Elvis, they came up with that bluesy Santa Claus is Back in Town, which is excellent song.
Got no sleigh with reindeer, no sack on my back. You gonna see me coming in a big black Cadillac. Oh, the Christmas time, pretty baby. And the snow is falling on the grass. Well, you be a real good little baby. Santa Claus is back in town.
Yeah, it was basically written pretty much on the spot during a break. And the other thing too was that while this was all going on over the course of these few days, RCA kind of made the decision, and Steve Schultz, representing RCA, kind of made the decision that, like, okay, well, we can take the 4 gospel songs from the EP and we can throw that on there, so you don't have to record 10 or 12 Christmas songs. You only have to record 8, and then we can pull an album out,
fill it in,
and that way they could try to at least get more enthusiasm out of Elvis as well, just by saying, hey, you don't have to do as many of these.
Yeah, and they did 7 takes for Santa Claus is Back in Town, which was his favorite Christmas songs, even though the 68 special would have you think otherwise.
Right.
And the last song they recorded was I'll Be Home for Christmas, which was wrapped up in 15 takes, and you can hear that on the Lethal Weapon soundtrack, or the very first Lethal Weapon. It might not be on the soundtrack.
I'll be home, oh Christmas, oh yes. If only
And this is the point where Scotty, Bill, and DJ started getting excited about recording their instrumental album that of Elvis's hits, which they were promised studio time, but I guess Elvis was tired or not in the mood to continue recording, and Tom Diskin basically told them that that's it, that's a wrap. And when they protested, Diskin kind of told them that the Colonel said that they can try another time, which is essentially meant forget you guys. And they looked to Elvis to say something on their behalf, and he basically left with his posse, or he played dumb, like acting like he didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
And this caused a rift. They were none too pleased, and they left. They took off from Elvis.
Resigned.
Resigned. They wrote him a letter, and they weren't part of that second Tupelo benefit show because of this. And they did make up months later, but yeah, that was the issue. What do you think about that whole? Do you think it was a raw deal, or do you kind of agree with the Colonel and Diskin, or what do you think?
It's kind of one of those things where no one really comes out looking all that great. Because to be fair, to be fair on the business side of things, like, yes, in an ideal world, the artistry comes first, and you have someone like a Sam Phillips or even a Lieber installer who allow the band and Elvis to kind of feel around what they need to do to get it where it needs to be. But you're working for a corporation. You're working for a big company, and they have deadlines and timelines that they have to meet. And yeah, they were promised the studio time, but they didn't have a contract for it. They didn't have anything that they could, go after RCA about the studio time. It was just sort of a handshake thing. And
not only that, they because they weren't as competent musically on certain types of songs, they took more time than normal for the studio, right? Yep,
absolutely. And that could have been one of those things where it was like, okay, well, you're going to do all these. How long are you going to take? Like, do you, it's the old phrase of, give them a hand, they'll take the arm. That's the way that they could have viewed, the RCA could have been viewing this session as well. For Scotty and Bill. So and that's not to say that that's entirely a defense, for it was a rude thing for them to do. Certainly cowardly on behalf of Elvis to just sort of leave, knowing full well that there was supposed to be more. And on the flip side of that, like, yeah, Scotty and Bill had every right to be angry. Like, they were promised all these things. So
yeah, they weren't making hardly anything.
No.
So come on, at least, come on, throw them a bone. Like, you're not paying them properly.
Right.
At least do something for them.
Yeah.
Whatever. This topic will go on forever. Let's jump to next year, January of '58, at Radio Recorder Studio B in Hollywood, during the King Creole sessions. They carved out a little time for some non-soundtrack songs.
In the interim, what had happened?
Yes. What do you mean? Where are you going with this?
He got his draft notice.
Oh, yes. The draft notice came.
I got drafted, shafted, and everything else, man.
Yes.
And then everybody was in a panic because there was going to be no music coming out, no output.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and that was part of the reason why they felt this need to rush sessions in '58. And in fact, all of this was happening after King Creole. Elvis got a delay going into service so that he could make King Creole, because basically they wrote this letter to the draft board saying, look, there's a lot of money on the line for the companies that are involved here. It's not just me that's involved in this. There's a lot of people that are going to be gainfully employed by this, by this film. We need to make sure that this thing gets made. And the draft board gave him, an exemption going in, for a couple months or whatever, to allow him to make the movie. But the Colonel and RCA were suddenly under this crunch of like, okay, you've got to get this done.
Mm-hmm. And Lieber and Stoller weren't there. So Elvis requested Beanstalk and Discom to have them fly out. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, Lieber had pneumoniya at the time. So he couldn't make it. And through Diskin, the Colonel kept calling them, telling Lieber, the doctors doesn't know what he's talking about. Just come here. You'll feel better with the LA heat. eventually Stoller, who, his partner here is sick, and he got pissed off. He was like, he eventually told the colonel to go F himself.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. Obviously, the guy has pneumonia. Like, what are you doing? I know they were frantic. They had to get singles done. Like this.
Right.
And Elvis actually wanted to postpone.
Well, that's the thing. They were genuinely worried that Elvis was going to try to cancel the session because he wanted to work with Lieber and Stoller that badly. And that's why they were fighting so hard. Despite their problems with Lieber and Stoller, they were fighting so hard to try to get them there. But I mean, when the guy's sick, the guy's sick. So
what are you going to do? They
kind of just forced Elvis into a corner with, on the tight timeline, and we're like, okay, let's just cut a few things.
Yeah, because, as you said, time crunch, obligations to RCA, he finally acquiesced. And what is it, January 23rd?
Yep.
During the sessions for King Creole, they tried My Wish Came True again. And, they didn't get it. And then they also tried Don't You Think It's Time, which was written by Brooke Benton and Clyde Otis. Mm-hmm. And we don't have any of the recordings for these sessions. No. But, they went back, they went to February 1st, they went to record again, and first up again they tried My Wish Came True, and they still didn't get it. I don't know, what do you think? He just was stubborn that he wanted to try it? I
think so. I think he really just genuinely wanted to get a good version of it. I don't think he ever did, and I think it only came out just because they were scraping the bottom of the barrel to get stuff out. And I still don't think Elvis was ever happy with it. And obviously he never went back to revisit it, so I think it was one of those things that after 2 years he just, was like, okay, whatever. It's like,
I'm not gonna get it.
They put it out already, I don't need to do it again.
I've been yearning for a little romance. I wanna know when you're gonna give me a chance. Love me, honey, tell me you're mine. Oh, don't you think it's time?
So next was Don't You Think It's Time, which they just had tried the last session, and they did 48 takes of this song. So they didn't do it all from this session, the February 1st. They continued the numbering from the last time, January 23rd. But, man, that's a lot of takes.
Yeah. So that first session from the King Creole time, that was up to take 38. And then on this session, we get takes 39 through 48. So an additional, 10 or 11 takes?
Yeah.
Just a ridiculous amount. And
I don't think they knew what they wanted to get from this.
So the problem with this song is that it has some weird tempo changes. And we haven't talked a lot about this song. It's not been picked as a song of the week yet. I actually really like this song.
I do. I do like it as well.
What do you think of it?
Now, what is this supposed to be? Is it country or rockabilly or some kind of combination? Like, I like Elvis's vocals. He's trying hard to get it, but musically, I don't think it's there. Like, he even does the trademark guitar slaps to get the song going. Mm-hmm. I think if they went more bluesy, the song would have worked better. Maybe if Lieber and Stoller were there to provide a little bit of guidance, I think they would have got it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this one is that it sort of defies classification. It's not really country. And Brooke Benton and Clyde Otis certainly wrote more in the pop R&B genre anyway, but this didn't really have a feel of a traditional rhythm and blues type song. It's very difficult to describe this, and for folks who aren't as familiar with the song, it has some weird tempo changes. And not only that, but even within, the beginning of the song and the majority of the song is in regular 4/4 time, but then there's a bit when he actually does the line of, love me, honey, tell me you're fine, don't you think it's time, where it changes to this really weird time signature. I was looking at the sheet music and I was like, I've never seen 6/4 time, and it's just, the transitions are very weird, and because those transitions from this sort of regular beat to this, so then you've got that line itself, and then you also have the bridge of the song, which has sort of a different tempo, if not necessarily a different time signature, and it you can tell why, even with what they did release, it sort of got hacked together from different takes, because I don't feel like they ever quite got a flowing version of it. They just sort of were able to take chunks that worked from one take and chunks that worked from another take and sort of smush them together.
I've been yearning for a sweet embrace, a rub on my hair till I'm a total disgrace. Kiss me, honey, make me feel so fine. Oh, don't you think it's time? I don't want to walk without you, walking right by my side. It hurts me to see you talking to any other guy.
Essentially what they did, like, we have takes to listen to. We have takes 39 and 40, and then we got 47, 48. But the single, like, there's two versions of this song.
Yeah, that's the thing, too.
The single master was spliced from takes 47, 40, and 48, while the album master is from 40 and 39. On the album version, Elvis sings "Kiss Me, Honey, Tell Me You're Mine," while on the single master, he goes "Love Me, Honey, Tell Me You're Mine."
Love me, honey, tell me you're mine. Oh, don't you think it's time? Oh, kiss me, honey, tell me you're mine. Oh, don't you think it's time?
Well, and then there's another take in take 40. If you listen to the full version, he actually says, "Kiss me, honey, make my life divine."
Right.
Kiss me, honey, make my life divine. Oh, don't you think it's time?
Yeah, I mean, it's so bizarre. That could be another thing too. Elvis could have just had problems with the lyrics.
Yeah, maybe.
That could be a lot of the problem with some of these takes. So I wanted to ask you, talking about the single version versus the album version. So the album that this came out on was the Golden Records album, right? Volume 2.
The 50 million fans can't be wrong.
So here's my problem, because I as a thought experiment, I started thinking about this, and it led me down a rabbit hole. But so if it's not the exact same recording that actually went gold, should it be on? Yeah, should it be on the Golden Records album?
No,
not really. The single itself should be on there.
Wasn't there a controversy with the number one hits or whatever that came out?
Yeah, because
a certain version of the song.
It was the Wonder of You.
The Wonder of You.
Yeah, they used an alternate take, and it's like, that's not the one that was the hit. That was the number one hit.
Yeah,
and
they figure it's close enough.
Yeah, that's problematic from a historical, understanding history. Like, that would be like, well, a good example in another field is like Star Wars. So you have the original 1977 version of Star Wars, and it wins awards for special effects. Well, then in the 90s, you have George Lucas adding a whole bunch of CGI, and that's the only version available. So then it's okay, well, the Academy puts out a box set of DVDs with whatever films won a certain year, and then they put that special edition out. Yeah, and it's on it instead of the original. That's not the one that won the awards. Yeah. And so same with this one. The album version's not the one that actually got the gold award. It's just an interesting thought experiment to think about. It's so arbitrary; it doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. I just thought it was interesting. But yeah, the different takes, they don't sound all that different. There's just slight variations, and like you were talking about, there's some different lyrical tweaks that Elvis has. But other than that, they're pretty similar. But I do like the song. It's just a shame that I don't think it's as well remembered today, because it was even though it went gold, it was still sort of a minor hit for him. Yeah. So next up is Your Cheating Heart, which was originally by Hank Williams Sr. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we talked about this in the past. I can't remember where. Maybe the live show, because I remember a bunch of you piling on me saying that Elvis's version was inferior and it doesn't touch Williams's version. Yeah. I still don't get it. I think the OG is great. Sounds like a waltz, but a little too dated. I think Elvis updates it beautifully by infusing some rockabilly and pulling it out of its, retching it out of its country roots. Mm-hmm. And I like that he adds his own personal inflections.
and he gets the song to swing.
When tears come down like falling rain, you'll toss around and call my name.
And you're gonna walk that floor the way that I do. You're cheating hard. Well, tell on you. Yeah.
What do you think? Tell us why you hate this song.
I don't hate this song. Elvis was the one that didn't like how it ended up.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and so this is where I was going, where here's another song that they still didn't really get a good version of. Again, Scotty and Bill not being good enough players. When you listen to the alternate take, Scotty's guitar playing is very busy. Like, he's doing way more. It goes back all the way to Sun Records on When It Rains, It Really Pours. It's just like, don't make it so damn complicated, Scotty. However, on that alternate take 9, Elvis is way looser, and he's a little more ferocious. There's a point, it's about the 1 minute 40 mark, where he just tears into, you're gonna walk on that floor.
Yeah.
I mean, just really taking it to more of a rock and roll place.
When tears come down like falling rain, you toss around and call my name. You're gonna walk on that floor the way that I do. You're cheating hard.
I can't imagine this going over well with the country crowd in the 50s, but for the rock and roll crowd, this I think would have, if it had come out then. By the time it actually comes out in 1965, nobody even cares, because it's on the Elvis for Everyone album, which, while it has an interesting cover design, doesn't really have a point other than to use up whatever masters are still.
Whatever they had just to put it out. As you said, they did 10 takes, with 10 being the master, and 9 is listed as the alternate master. So what happened is, on Elvis for Everyone, they put out that take 10, and that became the master. But then by mistake, they released take 9 on that Welcome to My World album from '77. And hence that became the alternate master. So RCA is making mistakes left and right. They don't know what they're doing.
All the time. Well, I mean, that's like, I genuinely am convinced now, having done enough discussion on Mexico from Fun in Acapulco, I think it was a genuine mistake. I think they just straight up messed it up, put on the wrong version where Elvis isn't singing all the lyrics. So
same with Stay Away on Almost in Love and Let's Be Friends.
Yeah, they put on Stay Away Joe
on both songs, even though one is listed as Stay Away Joe and the other one's listed as Stay Away.
Yeah,
they put 2 versions of Stay Away Joe on each of those. So it's mistakes. What are you gonna do? They make mistakes.
So they weren't all that better than Scotty and Bill.
No, they were just like them. So lastly, and probably the best song from these sections, was one of my previous songs of the week.
Yes.
Wear My Ring Around Your Neck.
Won't you wear my ring around your neck to tell the world I'm yours by heck? Let them see your love for me, and let them see by the ring around your neck.
Great fun song. It really rocks. I love this song. It's probably in my top 15 Elvis songs, maybe 20. And they took their time with this, because they did 22 takes, with 22 being the master, with piano and guitar backbeat overdubs done later on February 26th. If you listen to that undubbed master, there's definitely something missing from the song, but then it could just be my ear, because I'm so used to hearing that awesome backbeat, and when it's gone, I'm like, this something's missing. This is like a fetus rather than a full-grown baby.
Right.
I need the full-grown baby.
22.
Let's go. Won't you wear my ring around your neck to tell the world I'm yours by heck? Let them see your love for me, and let them see by the ring around your neck.
And then Elvis himself insisted on performing the back.
He did.
And
He did.
He wouldn't let the single be released without him.
Yep.
What do you think?
So I really like this song. The concept itself of wearing the ring around the neck is a little 50s, but it's very earnestly performed. I can understand why it was a hit at the time. It's a shame he never went back and revisited it later in his career. I think it would have been interesting to hear him do a version, even in like 1970, even just like goofing around. Like we have rehearsals from That's the Way It Is, where he's.
He does 50s stuff.
Yeah, he's doing 50s. He does Such a Night, and he does Money Honey. It would be interesting to hear. Yeah, it would be interesting to hear him do a Wear My Ring Around Your Neck around that time. But he never went back to it. It's a shame. But like you said, he insisted that he do these overdubs, which he did on his own on the 26th. But this session at the beginning of February was the last time that the full Blue Moon Boys band,
the original band,
was together on a session. That's not true. They were on Danny and Steadfast, Loyal, and True solo.
But this is the last like non-soundtrack.
Yes.
They're actually doing studio,
considering,
album.
Considering Danny didn't actually make the movie, do we want to talk about that song just real quick? Because it's in between these two sessions. And
I mean, we can. I don't know why. I guess they wanted to change the name King Creole.
We didn't really talk about it when we reviewed King Creole at all. There's really not an opportunity when we did the commentary. So, since it's obviously not in the film, but Danny was a song that was written, like you mentioned. They were going to change the title, and they were deciding between King Creole, which it had started out as, or Danny, based on the original title of the book, A Stone for Danny Fisher. And they ended up canning that version of the song anyway, and it later surfaced as a slightly rewritten song recorded by Conway Twitty called Lonely Blue Boy.
They say that love is the answer, but love never came my way. Writing a letter to someone unknown, so if you should find it, oh yes, and if you're alone, oh Danny, yes Danny is my name.
You know what's weird? So I didn't know any about this. I did hear Danny, but when I bought a Conway Twitty compilation of his 50s and 60s stuff, and I put on Lonely Blue, I'm like, wait a second. This sounds eerily like Danny. And I was like, did he just like copy?
I could just imagine the expression on your face, like your eyes shifting from side to side.
That's totally it. Like that's like this was my indignant phase of preteens, early teens, and anything that I didn't know or was kind of like missing or like a flim flam or shim sham or whatever. I was like on it right away, and I was like, wait a second, Conway Twitty, what are you doing here? This is Elvis's song. And I had no one to talk to, so I was probably shouting at myself. How about you? When you first, or did you already know about the whole history before you heard Lonely Blue Boy?
You know, the first time I heard this, was this on Essential Elvis 3? Volume 3?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's where I first heard it, and then obviously on the 50s Masters set, and I just thought it was a curiosity. I thought it was a perfectly, fine delivery of the song. I'm glad that they obviously went with King Creole. I can't think of a place that it would have really, like, it would have had to have just gone over the title credits. Like, there's not really a better place for it.
Or even the end credits.
Yeah. Well, there's not really much in the way of end credits for Elvis movies. Yeah.
It's usually that orchestral music at the end of these kind of movies. But what I want to go back is, so when did you first hear Lonely Blue Boy?
Oh, I don't know, 10 years ago, probably.
So did you already know about
I hadn't.
Being a remake?
I actually sought it out because I had heard that Conway Twitty. I had read somewhere that Conway Twitty had changed the lyrics.
Oh, okay. So you
Danny.
weren't like me, where like it just came out
No,
of the blue.
no,
Like,
no,
wait
no.
a second here.
No.
Who's trying to pull a fast one on me?
I knew that it was a cover of the original,
Okay.
that Elvis had cut, but it hadn't been released. So
Trust me, if you were there in the room when I heard it, you would have gotten an earful out of me.
Right?
Like I would just direct my anger at you, not necessarily for you, but whoever was the one who did that.
But yeah, so that was the last time that Scotty, Bill, and DJ and Elvis recorded together, and it's sort of an end of an era, and that's why we're kind of ending this session here. There was one more session left in the 50s, but it's something markedly different.
And Scotty's not even on that.
Yeah, neither is Bill. So
nope. Bill would never come back. Scotty came back after the Army, but Bill would never come back, and we would never have the Blue Moon Boys. I mean, the Blue Moon Boys effectively were that title was ended as soon as the Colonel was signed on, and then they signed with RCA.
Totally.
Like that was gone. That was pre-Colonel, I think, right?
Yeah.
So, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna
Absolutely.
do? That was the end of the Blue Moon Boys. But a lot of Elvis fans or fans of the 50s rockabilly style Sun Records, they only like Elvis's stuff with the Blue Moon Boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like they thought Elvis didn't get, he got progressively worse after they kind of disbanded. So, what are you gonna say? I don't know. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Or do you think that Scotty and Bill were holding him back?
Yes. With a vices or around his neck that he had to get rid of, and who knows? I'm kind of glad that when Elvis did go to Vegas, Scotty and DJ and the Jordanaires kind of said no to him.
Yeah,
because it did kind of force him to go out and find his new band, and this like it would have been odd with him in Vegas, because I think the 68 special was a good like cutoff point of the older Elvis, and now he's coming, he's coming back, and he's totally different. He's all brand new. He's polished. It'd be weird if he had his old band with him still.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's those are the final sessions with Scotty, Bill, and DJ as they were. And we've got one more session to dig into for the 50s, but we also are cutting it off because there's actually outtakes from that final session.
Lots of outtakes.
A lot. So that'll be fun to dig through on a future sessions episode. But yeah, overall, what's your take on this? I mean, it gave him, despite it being a lot of songs that didn't get cut, or we don't even have anything from them. Multiple attempts and failures. It still gave him a really successful Christmas album. It gave him two major hits with "Don't" and "Wear My Ring Around Your Neck." So it was
Treat Me Nice, I'd add too.
Yeah, and "Treat Me Nice." So it was by no means a
failure.
A failure at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
no, I mean, even though it's just because the highs were so high that his lows you can kind of overlook.
Totally. And a low for Elvis Presley is extremely high for pretty much anyone else.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right. Well, let's head on over to Song of the Week.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley.
Well, since my baby left me,
all the memories are linger in my heart. Ooh, I feel my temperature rising. He wrote upon it. Return to sender. Address on. But the man who can sing when he hasn't got a thing, he's a king of the whole wide world. Viva, viva Las Vegas.
So interestingly enough, when we were talking about what was the song that "Don't You Think It's Time," which was written by Brooke Benton and Clyde Otis, but on the record itself, if you actually look at the 45, it's not credited to Brooke Benton.
Oh, right. I think he has an alias or something. Right?
His alias is Willie Dixon,
right?
Who is actually a real artist and a real songwriter that worked for Chess Records, And he also wrote, as the actual Willie Dixon, wrote a song that Elvis also covered. My Babe.
She don't, oh God, I know she loves me,
I laugh at this because we just had a conversation where My Babe came up.
Yes, that's why I picked this. So let's just real quickly talk about that conversation, because you insulted this song.
Not really.
You did.
Okay, so I found a set list from '69 that Elvis hand wrote himself. And on this set list, he had Such a Night on there. And obviously he didn't record that. Well, he didn't perform it live. So I was like, well, you could, why get rid of Such a Night? You can get rid of other songs like My Babe or other, whatever, Hey Jude or Yesterday or whatever. And you were like, well, why take out My Babe? That's actually a good song.
I was indignant. Yes. Look at me. I am the indignant one now.
So is that why you picked this song?
Yes. Also because it's a really, really good song.
It is good. It is a good song.
Yeah, Willie Dixon
was... Not Such a Night, but it's a good song.
Well, I might...
come on. Seriously? You're going to compare Elvis Such a Night from Elvis's Back to My Babe? Like, come on.
Let's see. Willie Dixon...
No, it's nothing to see. Objectively, one is really, really good.
And this is... Have you heard the original by Little Walter? Oof,
I have heard it, but I'm not saying it's a bad song. But come on, you can't compare it to the heights of excellence, which is Such a Night.
Your mind might be changed after hearing the clips from this episode with the original.
Okay. Well, that's going to be next.
It might have been a while since you've listened to Little Walter's version, because it's pretty spectacular. But just a little brief bio on Willie Dixon himself. He was born July 1st, 1950 in Mississippi. His earliest musical influence was gospel music, of course. And as a young man, he joined up with a gospel group called the Union Jubilee Singers as a bass singer. He moved to Chicago in the mid-1930s. While he was in his 20s, he had a brief career as a boxer, and he joined up with a singing group there in Chicago before World War II. When the war hit, he was a conscientious objector and was jailed for 10 months for refusing to go into the military. In the late 1940s, after the war, he was hired at Chess Records as a producer and a songwriter with special emphasis on the subsidiary Checker Records, which is where the Chess brothers were putting their black artists. Later in life, he actually became an advocate for securing and restoring copyrights to black artists and songwriters who were exploited by the music industry throughout the early and mid-20th century. And he was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame in 1980, received a Grammy Award in 1989 for one of his final albums, which was called Hidden Charms, and then he passed away in January 1992 in California. He was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994 and was eventually portrayed in the movie Cadillac Records, which we'll get to in a bit, by Cedric the Entertainer. So, but My Babe was actually he wrote the new lyrics, but the melody was actually quite an older song. It's adapted from a gospel song called "This Train Is Bound for Glory." Have you heard "This Train Is Bound for Glory"?
Johnny Cash.
Well, there's more than Johnny Cash.
Well, I know, but I just remember him singing it. Now when I was listening to Milky White Way, I remember Sister Rosetta Tharpe also had a version of it, right?
Yes. So the first recording of This Train historically was in the early 19-teens. It was by the Florida Normal Industrial Institute Quartet. Very interesting recording to go back to. It's this very, very poor quality. I'm sure it was on either an acetate or it was on one of those what were the phonograph things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just very, very low quality, but it's interesting to hear it.
This train is bound for glory. This train, my Lord, this train is bound for glory. This train, my Lord, this train is bound for glory. All who ride must be holy. Lord, 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 Lord. Whoa, 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 whoa.
It's well performed for its time and what you can tell. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, on the other hand, has an excellent version of the original song, This Train is Bound for Glory. Not only do you have a studio version, but there's also a really great video of her performing it. You can find it on YouTube. So charismatic, just really digging into this with her guitar playing. Really enjoy her version.
The more I'm listening to her stuff, the bigger fan I'm getting.
I know, me too.
Kind of like you were with Laverne Baker.
Yes.
I'm really digging her music.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody around here got to be holy because this train is a clean train. This train. But this train don't pull no liars. This train, you got to get off. This train don't pull no liars. This train, you know this train don't pull no liars, no false pretenders, and no backbiter because this train is a clean train. This train.
But obviously it had been around for years and years and years and years and years, decades, probably generations, even, I would say. But Willie Dixon got the idea to adapt this gospel melody to secular lyrics and turned it into a song basically about a romantic relationship where the female of the romantic partnership doesn't put up with the guy's crap, but is it's sort of an inversion of what would later become Ray Charles' "I Got a Woman."
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that midnight creeping, my baby. True little baby, my baby.
Little Walter was the first person to record it in January 1955. It was released on Checker Records in February 1955. What do you think of the original Little Walter version?
Great version, excellent song. I think I got it on. I had a box set of Chess records on the 50s, and this was one of them. And I was like, wow, this made me a fan of Chess record stuff. And I got into more Chuck Berry, and I got more into Bo Diddley because of this. But yeah, excellent version. I love the blues feel to the song. And I did, while you were talking, go back to Elvis's version, and I don't know what I was thinking when I said to take that out. It is a really good version. I mean, you're going to get to it, but Little Walter's version is excellent.
Yeah, so, I mean, Little Walter's, breaking this down, like, it's got this great groovy kind of walking bass line, just dump, 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 dump. And the primary thing that he was actually known for was his harmonica playing. And he has this really crazy cool harmonica solo, and it has this very heavy echo on it that makes it sound like a train whistle, which is like the perfect acknowledgement of its origins as a gospel song about a train going to heaven, but yet also perfectly fitting with the aesthetic, the sort of really rocking rhythm and blues aesthetic of the song. To me, listening to that original Chess recording now, if you can find on streaming one of the more recent remasters, it's still very crisp, very clean, very warm sounding. I would argue this is a rhythm and blues masterpiece of the mid-1950s. Yes. I absolutely adore this recording from the first time I heard it.
Don't stand no cheating, my baby.
But there's basically a lot of artists that did it after Little Walter. I mean, it actually became a #1 hit for Little Walter on the rhythm and blues chart. It really just blew up. But pretty quickly, right away, like it was covered even as early as March '55, a month later. There was a group by the name of the Goofers and the Dick Jacobs. Yeah, and. If I tell you the Goofers and the Dick Jacobs Orchestra, what do you think it would sound like?
I have no idea.
Imagine whiter than Freddie Bell and the Bellboys.
Really?
I mean...
Whiter than Pat Boone?
No. Still bluesier than Pat Boone.
Okay, there we
I
go.
actually wrote that in my notes. I said, whiter than Freddie Bell, still bluesier than Pat Boone.
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating. She waits for me in that midnight greeting, my baby. True little baby is my...
You got to do something extra special to sound like Pat Boone.
Yeah. No, it's if you were in a lounge in the 50s and you heard them play it, you'd be like, oh, that's interesting. So that's a version. 1956, it was covered by a blues artist by the name of One String Sam. Now, he's an interesting story. He was a street musician.
Is he related to Mohair Sam?
No. He's a street musician who walked into a recording studio in Detroit in 1956, recorded 2 tracks, and he had this one-stringed instrument, and he basically plucked it and pulled on it, and it was so weird. Like, you reading a description, let me just read you what it said on AllMusic. A fretless, so it doesn't have any frets, one-string instrument that was essentially a diddly bow consisting of a wood plank with a piano wire stretched between 2 nails, augmented with an electric guitar pick.
Okay.
Yeah, basically a homemade instrument with 1 string. His real name was Sam Wilson, and he fretted the instrument with a baby food jar and placed the jar nearer the microphone when he sang, creating his own echo chamber.
My baby, my baby just, my baby she just, my baby, my baby just.
This is a very, very bluesy, like when you think of the steel guitar style classic blues, of the 20s, of the 30s and earlier. I mean, that's what this is. I mean, really down and dirty, but a really fascinating recording. I would
like Bo Diddley making his own instruments.
Yeah, I would recommend checking this out. 1958, Ricky Nelson did a version on his album, which was actually titled Ricky Nelson.
I've probably heard this version.
Well, my baby don't stand no kissing, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no kissing, my baby. Well, my baby don't stand no kissing, so when I'm the one she's kissing, my baby. True little baby, my baby.
So this one's a pretty solid rockabilly version of it. Ricky's Nelson is a little too nasally at times, but it's not too bad. The more interesting thing about this is who's on guitar. Of course, because he's in Ricky Nelson's band, it's James Burton. This comes back into play in 1969. Yes.
Foreshadowing.
Interestingly, though, it's not very Elvis-y. However, the Dale Hawkins version from 1958 as well, which was actually recorded at Chess Records, has a very Elvis at Sun style arrangement. They add drums. It almost is reminiscent of, I would say, almost like Baby Let's Play House. Very, very fast tempo. Dale Hawkins' version is pretty good. I would recommend checking it out.
I like Dale Hawkins stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Don't stand no cheating, my baby. Well, my baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Well, my baby don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that midnight creeping. My baby, true little baby, she my baby. Well, my baby, I know she loves me, my baby.
Skipping ahead a few years, the Coasters did a version in 1962. They take it almost more of the twist. In sort of that vein. It's not a bad version. I do kind of like it. It's got a nice groove. However, the way that they have the backing vocals chant My Babe in unison kind of reminds me of the Batman theme, like from the 60s. Just imagine Batman, but it's My Babe, My Babe, My Babe.
Well, I know she loves me now.
There were a whole bunch of covers in between here. I'll do a list of some of the covers later, but the important one for this show is obviously the Elvis Presley version from 1969. He did this 3 times in the at the International Hotel during his original engagement in August 1969. He did one on August 22nd, one on August 25th, and one on August 26th, 1969. What do you think of Elvis's version of My Babe?
Yeah, as I was telling you, I've heard it before. I kind of listened to it quickly while you were talking earlier. James Burton guitar is great on this. Yeah. Man, it's so bluesy. And Elvis's vocal delivery is excellent. Like, he plays loose with it. He gets bluesy with it. I think it's great. I don't know what I was thinking. I just didn't hear it.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I listened to it. So, yeah, definitely I would not cut it out in favor of Such a Night. I would cut out other songs, but not My Babe.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously James Burton, very similar to what he was doing on Ricky Nelson's version, but amped up to 11 with Elvis basically just screaming the song at points in this. I mean, at the top of his range. Like, think Jailhouse Rock in the 68 special. I mean, he is really just throwing his all into this. Yes. And I love the sweet inspirations coming in and doing this sort of call and response with Elvis. And to give him credit as well, Ronnie Tutt is really killing it on the drums. I mean, this is back to roots rock and roll for Elvis in 1969.
Talk about my baby. Talk about my baby. Talk about my baby. Talk about my baby. Well, now my baby, I know she loves. She don't do nothing about it. I know she loves me. Talk about my baby. Talk about my baby.
Among the three different versions, the August 22nd one is maybe a little more raw than the other two versions. But it's not bad. The August 25th version is the one that was actually used as the master on the album In Person at the International Hotel. And that's the one that people would be maybe the most familiar with. It sounds a bit more polished. They don't have any problems with the intro. Everything kind of falls into place. And then the August 26th version, the intro, somebody messes up. And I don't know if it was the person that was playing on the keyboard or if it was the person on the bass guitar. But someone just, maybe it was both, just doesn't come in quite right. But Elvis turns it, by the time they get about a minute into it, it's back to where it is the other two nights. But Elvis's pronunciations are a little weird. He's hitting some of the consonants a little harder. But all in all three are excellent versions of the song. And like I mentioned, it appeared at the In Person at the International Hotel, the double feature album. It was From Vegas to Memphis, From Memphis to Vegas, accompanied with the Back in Memphis album.
Yes,
is where this was first released, and it's a great recording. I mean, Elvis is just killing it. Interestingly enough, there is a rehearsal from August 4th, 1972, because he never revisited it on stage that we're aware of, that we have recorded, documented evidence of. But Elvis isn't as amped up. Since his rehearsal, too, he's not putting as much effort in as well.
He wouldn't on rehearsals, right?
No. But the way it's performed, it's almost like they're kind of finding their footing after not having played it for a while. However, it does go for almost a minute longer than the versions from 1969 does, so they kind of get into a groove with it. Unfortunately, he never actually pulled it out on stage that we're aware of.
It became the Such a Night of '69,
right? There's a couple other versions. So over the years, covers have included Bill Black combo, Red West combo, Johnny Halliday, Conway Twitty, Ike and Tina Turner.
What's the Red West combo?
So apparently, Red West put out a single with the Red West combo at some point in the '60s. I found it on YouTube, and I assume that it's the same Red West. Because I haven't been able to find anything to indicate
I've never heard about the Red West combo.
Yeah, I'll plug a clip in here. It's interesting. I don't know if it's actually the real Red West. I included it here. Maybe we'll get clarification from a listener.
Everybody needs a combo. The Gurdip Ladar combo, the Justin Gosman combo.
Nice. But also the Everly Brothers, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Steve Miller Band, Solomon Burke, Lou Rawls, Ronnie Millsap, Tom Jones, Dion, Martina McBride. However, there's a couple other versions I just wanted to talk about that came after Elvis's that are worth mentioning. Willie Dixon himself recorded a version in 1973. With him being a bass vocalist, his vocal is much lower, but it's fairly faithful to the original arrangement that they worked up for Little Walter back in the day. Not a bad version. It's nice to hear it from the songwriter himself, even though he's a bit older.
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating, my baby. My baby don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that midnight creeping, my baby. True little baby, my baby.
And then in 1977, it's not the My Babe itself, but there is a version of This Train that does have an Elvis tie. On the Johnny Cash Christmas special in December 1977, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Roy Orbison performed This Train, and they
that's where I heard it.
And they actually dedicate it to Elvis. Because he had just passed away earlier that year.
Of course, there were others at Sun Records. Charlie Rich was there. So was Conway Twitty. And there was another one. In fact, after appearing at high school auditoriums and places like that, I worked my very first concert as a guest, and he was a star. And he always was a star. Because all of us remember him and how he loved gospel songs and how we liked him, this song is for Elvis. Come on, fellas, let's do it for him.
This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, this train. This train is bound for glory, nobody riding but the righteous and the holy. This train is bound for glory, this train.
So that one's an interesting one to listen to because they each take a verse, and then there are portions that they sing together. And then lastly, it was obviously featured in the 2008 film Cadillac Records, where Little Walter, portrayed by Columbus Short, records it. You hear a sort of shortened version of it in the film. There's some dialogue that goes over the top of it. But on the soundtrack, obviously it's in much higher quality. It's the full version, extremely faithful to the original. And Columbus Short is really a pretty good vocal match for Little Walter. I think it turned out really well.
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating, my baby.
Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that midnight creeping, my baby. True little baby, my baby. My baby, I know she'd love me, my baby. Oh yes, I know she'd love me, my baby.
Oh yes, I know she love me. She don't do nothing but kiss and hug me, my baby. True little baby, my baby.
I gotta watch that film again. It's been so long.
It's an okay movie. It drags in parts, and it's obviously not historically accurate as much, but it can be entertaining. I prefer the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So,
Mos Def, I think, portrays Chuck Berry, doesn't he, in it?
yes, and he does a great job on some of Chuck's songs. I really like his version of No Particular Place to Go. So
cool.
But
Nice.
yeah, so that was my my song of the week.
Excellent. I take back what I said about My Babe, because I was just thinking about Such a Night, and I wasn't thinking about the other song. That song deserves just as much respect, and you have changed my mind. See? I'm not that younger version of myself who can't acquiesce to other people's opinions.
There we go.
There we go. I've grown up. I've grown in doing this podcast. If this was one of those G.I. Joe cartoons, you'd have a bumper at the end where, today I learned that other people's opinions do matter.
Like on South Park. I learned something today.
And knowing is half the battle.
Right.
Oh, mama, baby. Oh, mama, baby. Oh, mama, baby.
So what's your song of the week?
My song of the week is a big come down from your song of the week.
No.
Mine is a small song, but one that I do like, and I picked it because I actually watched the film that it came from, and it is Take Me to the Fair, 1963, from the film It Happened at the World's Fair.
Take me to the fair. Take me to the fair. Don't know anywhere I would rather be. Let's go to the fair. We'll walk hand in hand through Tomorrowland, honey, you and me.
So what happened was, I think I told you that I watched Fun in Acapulco with my kids and wife, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter really liked Raul from Fun in Acapulco. And she wanted to know if Elvis had a film where he was opposite a little girl instead of a little boy. And I did not want her to watch Paradise Hawaiian Style. I thought the other one, the natural, is It Happened at the World's Fair. And she really liked it. She liked it a lot. She liked it more than Fun in Acapulco. And when this song came up, I was like, yeah, I really like this song. I've always loved this song. So I was like, this will be my song of the week. Why not?
Yeah.
So it was written by Sid Tepper and Roy C. Bennett, who we've talked about in the past. They wrote a boatload of Elvis film material, like G.I. Blues, Angel, Song of the Shrimp, Lonesome Cowboy, which we've talked about all these songs in the past. And so they tried recording it on August 30th, 1962 at Radio Recorder Studio B in Hollywood, but I guess they didn't like the sound and gave up on it. That's a trend going on in this episode with Elvis
No kidding.
Recording a song, trying it out, and then just giving up on it. But they did record it on September 22nd, 1962, again at Radio Recorder Studio B. Now, this song always caught my ear, even though it's really, really short and has no substance to it, really. But let's be honest, it's pretty much a fluff song, but damn, it's a nice bouncy song. So damn catchy. You listen to it once and you're singing it over and over in your head. Elvis sounds great on it. I know the song probably divides Elvis fans who probably hate it like they do Song of the Shrimp. But me, I love it. I think it's underrated. It's very fun, especially in context of the film. And what's wrong with that? What do you think of it?
I do like it. The first place I would have heard this was on the It Happened at the World's Fair LP. And I've always liked it. Did you see
the film? Or did you get the LP first?
I got the LP first, and then later saw the film. So yeah, I like it. It's one of those that's always stuck out to me from that soundtrack, along with One Broken Heart for Sale. I just like how and maybe it's just the tone of the soundtrack overall, but it's generally pretty lightweight. Like it's pretty, it's feel good. You know, there's not a whole lot.
Bubblegum. It's bubblegum pop.
Even the songs that are like the ballads and stuff, they're not too heavy, you know. And I don't know, it just has this sort of lightweight feel to it, and I do like it. So,
it goes with the World's Fair theme, right?
Yeah, you're just having
popcorn and
having a good time,
cotton candy. And I like the wordplay, like you can spend my pay, crush me in the crowds, I'll be in the clouds.
Totally.
Can spend my pay. Crush me in the crowds, I'll be in the clouds, honey, I don't care. Take me there by sleigh, roller skate a bike, any way you like, but take me to the fair. Hold it, sleigh. Hold it. I gotta find out where to go back to at. Could you turn the group up on my earphone, please?
So they did 8 takes, with 8 being the master. Take 1 is a false start. Elvis just gets the word take out, and they cut it. Take 2 is also cut short. Elvis, you can hear Elvis guiding the guitarists. Either it's Scotty, Billy Strange, or Tiny Timbrell. I think it's Tiny, but I'm not sure. On that opening riff. And take 3, we finally get a longer take, but it's pretty close to the master. And he does the slow ending. Take 4, Elvis confirms that they're on the right track with a hot diggity, and then they get interrupted by engineer Dave Witcham, and Elvis proceeds to make some sheep noises, just for no reason. Take 5, at the end, Elvis wants his headphones turned up, which I just found funny because I remember there used to be a Dave Chappelle skit where he plays a rapper and he keeps demanding that his headphones be turned up. Take 6 also breaks down, and then they use take 6 also breaks down, and they used take 8, which was the master, and they overdub ukulele for the movie version.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
Can spend my pay. Crush me in the crowds, I'll be in the clouds, honey, I don't care. Take me there by sleigh. Roller skate or bike, any way you like, but take me to the fair. Take me to the fair. Take me to the fair.
Like you said, too much thumb.
Yeah, and so this movie version with the ukulele is also included on the It Happened at the World's Fair FTT, but the quality is really, really bad. Like, you would just be better off listening to the version on the film itself. I don't know why they included it, but anyway, they did. So the song came out, as I said, on the It Happened at the World's Fair soundtrack in April of '63, and then later on that double features album along with Fun and Acapulco in 1993, which was a good, solid album. And because this is another one of those soundtracks I pined for, and in the '80s, and it wasn't re-released in the '80s. Where did you get yours from?
Antique store.
Ah, your weekly antiquing visits?
Not weekly, but yeah, at some point. When I was a younger Elvis fan, like a teenager, I actually did go to
I can
antique
just picture you
store
wearing bib overalls and a straw
more
hat.
often with my mom. So my mom's actually really big into antiques, so it was more her thing, and I just tagged along and happened to find. Like, once I found Elvis and that was a thing, then I at least had something to look for while I was there.
Right.
So.
Well, don't they have like books and stuff at these antique shops? Because that would be me. I'd be like heading to the book section.
Yeah, sometimes. Just
Right.
depends.
And you must have got it really cheap, huh?
Yeah, I don't even. It was probably less than $5.
I'd be strangling your. I'd be strangling your neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wear my fingers around your neck. That's the next hit by the Gurdip Ladar trio. It's only directed at one person, you. A 5-year-old version of you with It Happened at the World's Fair. He's slapping down the $5, and I'm like, curses. While I look at my local record shop that has it for over $100.
I love it.
So you can check out Elvis perform the song in the film near the beginning on the back of Uncle Walter's truck.
Yeah.
Elvis is singing it to Vicky too while playing the ukulele. Nice, cute scene. The ukulele is really pushed up to the foreground while the rest of the musical instruments seem to take a back seat. But it's fine. It works for the scene. I really like that film. Like, it's really... I didn't have much affinity for it before. Like, I was like, it's one of those songs that, the World's Fair was happening in Seattle, so it's nice to see. Plus, I've been to Seattle, so if you go on the Space Needle, you can see pictures of Elvis during that time. We actually had a World's Fair here, too, in Vancouver in '86. It was called Expo '86. I remember vividly. It was very similar to what I saw in It Happened at the World's Fair. They had the monorail, and they had all the different pavilions, and it was really fun. I vividly remember the Japanese pavilion because they had Godzilla lighters, like like you flick the back and the flame comes out of his mouth. And back then, I guess my parents didn't think much about buying me a lighter, and I was fairly young too. So anyway, yeah, great film. I think we should totally cover it one of these days. And that's pretty much it, because I did not see any substantial covers because besides ETAs, no one really tackled it.
It's an obscure movie song, so
yes, not a lot of people.
But,
how about that? I can't even remember if One Broken Heart for Sale was covered by anybody. I don't
remember. I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's my song of the week. Not very heavy like yours, but still an Elvis song that I really like.
Good pick.
Thank you.
I'm down with it.
Roller skate or bike, any way you like, but take me to the fair. Take me to the fair. Take me to the fair.
So that that's our episode for the week. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Let us know what you think about our songs of the week. Let us know about Elvis's sessions in late 57, early 58. What do you guys think? How can they tell us?
TCBcast@gmail.com or shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter.
Excellent. And if they want to check out this podcast?
Of course, we're on Spotify, Podbean, tcbcast.libsyn.com, Apple Podcasts. I think, one quick thing. If you want to help us with the rankings and stuff like that, give us a rating if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts.
We don't normally ask for it, but it really helps us to just garner more ears, more people listening. I'm sure there's a lot of Elvis fans out there who've never heard of us.
Yeah, and I do notice in the past couple of weeks we've picked up quite a few listeners, at least that are liking our page on Facebook. So thank you to those of you who are discovering TCBcast, and hopefully you enjoy what we're putting out.
Yes, and before we go, I just wanted to also point out you put up a poll about the Elvis stamps based on our last episode.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now it's interesting because the 50s Elvis is not winning. It's not a landslide, is it?
No, it's pretty close, but 70s Elvis is actually edging it out.
I think I told you, my wife, she was on her Facebook, and she looked at the two images, and she's like, what's going on? And I told her about the stamps.
Yeah.
And I asked her to vote, and she picked the 70s one. She said it's just aesthetically looks better, like in a better image. The 50s one, she said it looks kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we were talking about this off air, and not to relitigate the whole 70s versus 50s stamp, but like it does look a little off, like the 50s one. His skin is too it's too tanned. His eyes look dead.
He looks like Flaming Star Elvis.
Yeah,
was it Pacer?
Was that his name? Yeah, Pacer. Yeah, a little. And you
zoomed into his eyes, and I was like, wow,
they're dead.
Look kind of that's kind of creepy. But yeah, so by the time this comes out, I think the voting will be over.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
We'll see. We'll see. It was just a fun thing just to see where our listeners fell, and surprisingly, as of this recording, they're leaning, not by much, but they're leaning towards 70s Elvis. So
yeah. Let us know what you guys think. TCBcast@gmail.com. What's your choice of the stamp? Do you think they should have went with that 70s version of Elvis? Me personally, I like that second stamp that came out.
Yeah.
I think that encompasses Elvis. But anyway, that's all well and good. I think the only thing we got to say is it's a hot time in Florida.
It's a rainy night in Georgia.
You've been listening to the TCBcast, an unofficial Elvis fan podcast. Justin Gosman and Gurdip Ladar have left the building.
Someone must have stomped on his head with those blue suede shoes.
Thank you and good night.